ended. This year's Grand Marshal is a man many in this community simply know as Mr. Memorial Day, Joe Olsovsky. For many years, Joe organized and led our Memorial Day parade and ceremonies with dedication, pride, love for both his community and his fellow veterans. Long before many of us arrived early in the morning to set up the chairs or gather for the march, Joe had already spent countless hours planning, coordinating, organizing, making sure that our fallen heroes would be remembered properly. Joe understood something important. Memorial Day is just not an event. It's a sacred responsibility. Today, as Joe battles stage 4 cancer with courage and determination, it's our turn to honor him. Joe has lived a remarkable life of service. As a young man attending college in 1966, he worked as a co-op student at Allied Chemical in Solvay, New York, and after graduating, he was recruited by Eastman Kodak. We worked as an industrial engineer helping improve efficiencies and operations. But then history intervened. During the Vietnam era, only 2 months before he would have passed the draft age cutoff, Joe was drafted in the United States Army. He completed basic training at Fort Dix. He specialized in artillery training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And then he was sent overseas to Germany, where he served in fire direction control artillery with the powerful 8-inch howitzers. Joe's intelligence, skill, and calm under pressure quickly became apparent. During an exercise at Camp Drum, now known as Fort Drum, when others struggled to properly calculate and gauge a target, Joe stepped in, programmed the firing solution for the howitzer, and accomplished the mission. According to Joe, the younger soldiers were so impressed, they made sure he never had to buy a drink for the rest of the week. The story says a lot about Joe. Quiet competence, reliability, leadership without seeking recognition. After returning home in 1971, just weeks before his marriage to Sandy, Joe resumed his career with Kodak and soon worked along Lockheed Martin on highly classified space projects. From 74 to 76, Joe and his wife Sandy moved to California. We worked in Sunnyvale on what was a top secret government program connected to the Gambit 3 reconnaissance satellite system during the height of the Cold War. This system was so highly classified that very few knew in the United States that it even existed. The work demanded precision, dedication, and trustworthiness at the highest level. Sandy and his family never knew what he was doing for many, many years after when it was unclassified. Joe later returned to Rochester and continued his career in material engineering, earning patents connected to digital printing technology before retiring in 2000. But Joe's story is not simply about career success. It's about service. Service to his nation, service to veterans, service to his family, service to his community. Joe volunteered as a Cub Scout leader. He coached junior bowling. He worked the chain gang at the Churchville Child football games. He supported the Churchville Child sports boosters. While wintering in Florida, he volunteered for more than a decade as a golf coach with the First Tee Youth Program, mentoring young people and teaching not only golf skills, but sportsmanship and character. Within our own American Legion family, Joe served as a post commander and remained deeply involved in preserving our traditions and honoring our veterans. Many people live in the community. Joe invested in the community. That's why this recognition matters so much. At a time when our nation reflects upon the 250 years of history, we are reminded that America has always depended on ordinary citizens doing extraordinary things quietly and faithfully. Not for applause, not for recognition, but because they believed in serving something greater than themselves. Joe represents that spirit. And in true fashion, when people wanted to know about him, Joe said, in true Joe fashion, when asked what people should know about him, he said, just tell everybody I was a wonderful guy. So I'm going to call him Joe Wonderful. That line makes us smile because it captures his humor, his humility perfectly. But the truth is, Joe really is a wonderful guy. He's a kind of veteran, neighbor, husband, father to Jeremy and Jesse, grandfather, mentor, and friend who strengthens a community simply by being part of it. So today, Joe, on behalf of the Harvey C. Noon American Legion Post 954, this community, and all gathered here, we thank you for your military service, your leadership, and for preserving the meaning of Memorial Day for future generations, and for showing us all what a life of service looks like. As we continue today's ceremony and parade, let us remember that Memorial Day is ultimately about gratitude. Gratitude for the young Americans who died and never grew old. Gratitude for the families who carried that loss. Gratitude for the veterans who continue serving long after they removed the uniform. And gratitude for communities like ours that still pause to remember this day for them. 250 years after the birth of our nation,